Hey guys, how you doing? So I have a couple of things I want to show you. I started working today very early and I'm dead tired. I had a lot of work today. It's not fun, these big plates. It's fun when you finish and when you get to play with them, but making them it's really tiring. Grinding all this, and it's twice the tiring, because first big tiring is when you pre-grind them, and then after the heat treat is also pretty tiring too. You're handling pretty big piece of steel, long strokes, and it's hard work. So actually will be probably selling that Excalibur I made for myself yesterday. Definitely after I test it I'll see, but I gotta be honest with you, as much as I love my Excalibur and as awesome as it looks in my opinion, I just love these Knifechete so much more, just because they're obviously not as great choppers as Excalibur, but they are actually very good choppers, and they're just a little more familiar to me, like a little more nimble, actually more blade, short to handle, but still very nimble because of the weight. It's low profile and everything, and I just like this. I'm very comfortable with using this type of tool. Actually a little more, this is more of a crazy chopper. This is more of an actual tool that you can just use all day, no problem. This one I messed up a little bit. If you would really study the grind, there's a little step down here. I don't know why, just because it's so long. So I probably ground off a little too much here, but I just love it. It's convex grind, full high convex. You have that knocked off corner. You can see them, kind of like it's I'm gonna call them swedges, but it's just the chamfered corners on like 45 degree on both sides, nice and even. Feels really nice in the hand, and it has incredible chopping power. I tried another 2x3. It really bites insanely deep, because you can have so much speed with just a wrist flick, and it's insane. And this one has OD green G10. You see that beefy stack there, nice and comfortable. Again, I can have a nice close grip here, with being able even to whittle if I want to, or I can actually just move one finger back, and with my size of hand, it actually fits perfectly into the curve, nice and secure in the back, very comfortable grip for even more chopping power. But I think actually even this forward grip with that index finger locked in there, I actually still have a lot of length to deliver really good hits, because of the thickness and the weight. It is a really effective tool. And I did two more to hawks. I actually ground one last night, late at night, which was this one. Pretty much the same as the one yesterday, but this one has that spike on the end sharpened. It's not sharpened, but it has the edges from the top as well, so it comes to a little more deadlier point here. And this one has the thick Kydex sheet. And again, this just takes a little bit of getting used to insert them in, but once you get used to them, they snap. And these, I actually tried the new two, this one and this one. I actually tried and did. They are sturdier, but you don't even need no security. They are not coming out on its own unless you actually grab it and whip it out. But you whip it out just as quick as the other one. But it's kind of nice that you don't have to mess around with any kind of secondary security, which I always try. Same with my knives. I want it to be nice and secure without any kind of additional security. This one is a little different, because you see I did the actual two-piece Kydex with the rivets on top, which lets me put the tech lug in the center, so it lets you actually put it even on your side, which is pretty nice. And again, grab it, whip it open. This one, I think I'm gonna keep this one. I like this. You see I grounded out little more of a index finger here, so you can get even deeper behind the edge. And also it kind of looks a little more, I think it looks a little better, kind of resemblance of like a bearded hatchet or bearded axe, if you know what I mean. I like that look a lot. So again, just a matter of getting used to, but super strong that it's not coming out on its own. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but all of these have those spikes. You know, some shorter, some sturdier, some pointier. This one is actually the pointiest one. They have them sticking on the bottom. So if you want to, if you need to, you can grab it by the sheet and you can, you know, use it in this manner. You know, so you can save your edge and you can save your spike and break stuff up or do certain things, pry things out with those spikes on the end. So that's pretty cool. And the coolest one is actually for Killer Lead, Dave. He's been waiting for this blade for a couple of months now. He kept begging me since I made the first two original Bigfoots. And Bigfoot is pretty much just like Excalibur, but it has very similar handle, you know, pretty much the same style handle, but the shorter blade. It's 12-inch blade and it's also nice recurve. So this one gets that OD green. He loves OD green, and I put those oversized Phillips screws there into the pivots. I like how it goes with that OD green, nice and bead blasted. So it has a nice texture and it has my contouring. And the shade is kind of funny because I didn't have any Kydex that the color I would like to go with this that was big enough. So what I did was I took two pieces of Kydex and I put one piece about this long here, molded it around the knife, and then I heated up this piece that was shorter and molded it around it with that Kydex underneath it. So essentially when I finished it, it was both two pieces were held together, drilled and everything prepared. Used the longer rivets for this part where you see the 4 layers of Kydex actually, and then it comes to the 2 layers. You see that little mishap there, but that's like nothing. That's really just visual. But you ended up with nice and strong, very strong support here, nice and good retention by the indexing finger, but there is nice big channel inside, which I have actually kind of new trick how to do on these recurves. And then here the very tip actually has nothing. There was no tape, so it's actually nice and snug fit. That's why there is absolutely no rattle in this, but no scratching. And the cool thing about this is, like, you know, these normally are big, you know, pain in the butt to do these big sheets, and then sometimes it still kind of slides inside, you know, it grabs, you know, kind of like has that friction in there. But this one you just push it off, which actually has pretty good retention on its own. And mind you, this is a heavy blade, so me doing this with it, that actually are pretty substantial forces that are pulling on that knife just from that shaking, and it's not coming out. But again, you know, push on my thumb and the shit literally flies out of it, and you have this really nice Bigfoot. So that's the Bigfoot, you know, similar blade shape like Excalibur. Nice satin finish on this, perfect clean. And it's about 12-inch blade, if I remember right, which it should be. Yep, it's actually we put it right on top of the handle. It's 11 and like 1/8, and of the cutting edge, if you don't count the curves and everything, actually 11 inches length. So I thought it's 12, but it's 11 inches from the tip to the cutting edge, but with the curve it actually has more of the cutting surface, more of the length. But this one is pretty nice because it has slightly thicker grind than that. I wouldn't grind customers' knives as I would grind my knives. So it's just slightly thicker, but still nice and lean, still gonna be performing really well. You know, it's gonna chop like crazy. The nice thing about this is that the balance point is actually very close to your index finger, so you are only about inch away from your index finger, which means that this knife is actually feels very light in the hand when you're in the forward grip. But now obviously if you shift back for a chopping hand, you know, now your balance point is 4 inches, yeah, what is it, 4 or 5 inches away from your index finger, which will give you a lot of power for the chopping. So it's pretty cool blade, the way as I kind of developed this two-handed, I would call it two. It's not really meant to be used as a two-handed, but I just call them two-handed handles, which in reality is actually just multi-position handle. You know, so you have, with the hands like me, I can actually shift my hand almost the whole length of the hand, and it works out well. So this one also has that chamfered corners. You can see it there, nice and even on both sides, just a little look, but quite like this one, especially the whole combination, the whole set. I really like how it looks. You know, you have that woodland digi camo, and then that little piece of gray there, kind of like gunmetal gray, and then the OD again. I think it just works together well. Maybe the only better thing, I kind of wish that I would thought of it better. It would be pretty cool if this piece was black, but it's pretty good too with the gray. And you have the thumb ram there. This second thumb ram is just the occurrence of, you know, how it molded, but it actually kind of looks cool. And let me give you one tip. So what I did actually on this, how I molded this. Let me show you something. Piece of cardboard. So I grabbed the piece of cardboard just like this, and I actually just bend it in half. This will maybe make your recurve sheet making a whole lot easier in the future. So I bend it like this, and I just positioned it right here. I actually, just for the design wise, I actually cut this on the angle, actually this way. I cut that cardboard this way just so it has kind of like a, if you look here, it actually, you can see here a curve that's kind of like a belly curve, but it's in the middle of that big belly. So I cut that like that, and then just with the duct tape I taped this over to the other side so it held in place and molded like that, you know. So that means your sheet is secured by, again, same here, by that index finger. That's where the whole locking and everything happens. It's locked in place by the front tip, which doesn't have duct tape and space, but it's such, you know, thin stuff that it doesn't get scratched or any interference, but it keeps the knife from rattling inside. And this whole thing gives you enough space in the main portion where all the, you know, most of the scratching and everything occurs when you're making the sheets. Gives you just enough space to, you know, to create that space inside. So that kind of worked out really, really well. I didn't have to do any kind of, you know, going back and reheat it and everything, you know, just here, just to create the thumb ram and play with the retention here, which is kind of normal every time. But I didn't have to play around with nothing over here, no corrections of this area, that's the big help when you're making the sheets for the recurves, especially pronounced recurves like this. So guys, I hope you liked it. Dave, I really hope you're gonna like this knife. I've seen you have some weird taste in knives lately, so finally you get something something nice and just teasing, brother. So I hope you put it to good use, man. I want to see some scratches and some beauty marks on it, alright? So guys, thanks for watching, take care, stay safe, and remember, don't cut yourself, especially not with this, you're gonna lose a limb.